Hello and welcome to Sketchup and Layout. For this demonstration, we're going to see this 3-story building. That's 1 floor with a roof deck and 2 basements. We're going to start off by SketchUp modeling, and right afterwards SketchUp layout, and right afterwards some SketchUp Enscape for a preview. I'm not gonna show the whole modeling process, but I'm going to show some parts on how it was made. So using the page up and down, I'm navigating through the scenes. Let's start off with the lot plan. The lot plan is just a rectangle grouped into the layer or tag lot. This lot tag falls under the tag folder site if you're using SketchUp 2021. So I'm going to choose long dash followed by 2 short dashes, which indicates the property line. Right afterwards, I'm going to determine the front setback and the side setbacks. So let's say 2 meters each side and a 4.5 meter front setback. Right afterwards, I start modeling using spaces. So I'm trying to determine a 3x5 carport. However, based on many pickup cars and trucks nowadays, I'm going to extend this 2 meters more to make it 3x7 so that the tail won't really, protrude towards the house. Right afterwards, I can proceed to my schematics. Let's say the sala over here, the master bedroom, maybe the master bath, storage space, hallway, and maybe a cross access here. So the stairs would be somewhere here, a pantry, the kitchen, the dining area, balcony here, balcony for the masters, maybe a bathroom here, direct access the main hallway, the service hallway over here, and access outside. So don't worry too much about your schematics. This is just to show which areas are linked to each other. Right afterwards, you can proceed to making the walls. In making the walls, you can use your traditional offset tool. However, you'll have to keep on trimming, which causes some time to do. What you can do is just group each spaces first and then try to rearrange them as you go. Once they are final, let's say they are exploded right now, I can make this into exterior walls followed by this. However, I don't want these to be walls, so I deselect them from right to left using Ctrl and Shift, and then making my exterior walls. So in that case, I don't have to keep on deleting the overlapped lines. Say we have openings then later on. You could indicate them here in the plan. However, it would be better to see them in 3D later on to align them. Using the push and pull tool, enable control to have a fill below the solid. Don't worry too much about filling these gaps later on, so that you could still see them in top view even without the section cut yet. Once these are final, I decide to group all walls together. That leaves the floor behind. Group them again. Unhide or Shift H. Shift V hides the rest of the model. You can find that in View, Component Edit, Hide Rest of Model. So this time you could also use this other method called just group by walls. Example, this is one wall, make that into a group using the rotate tool and a copy by pressing Ctrl You can scale other walls to your liking. Now don't worry again about overlapping, because once finalized you could select all three by holding down the Control key, right clicking and pressing O for outer shell. This merges all three groups to make it one solid, but this makes it harder to adjust later on when you're still on the revision stage or schematic stage. Once that is done, enable your section plane by pressing Shift and Q. You can align them to an axis by hitting the up arrow to lock on blue. Click once, rename it. Using the Move tool, make sure the active cut, which is orange, is selected. It now turns blue, and move with the letter V, or in your case, letter M. Be sure to go where the cut of the bathroom window is, so that it could be seen in the plan view. Shift A to hide the section plane. Shift A to show it again. Shift S to hide the section cut. Shift S again to show it. The shortcuts are seen here. In View, Section Plane, Section Cuts. Sketchup 2017, I guess, and above has Section Fill. Section Fill is found over at the Styles tab. Styles tray, go to Edit, look for the last part, and see Section Fill enabled. You could also change the color of the section fill, say yellow, if you want it that way. In this case, I choose a dark color such as gray to black, so that these lines in layout won't be that obvious and I don't have to keep on trimming them, because I want to edit them later on, especially if they are grouped. Once that is finished and you have your section cut, go to Top View by pressing Shift T in my shortcuts, or looking for this tab, right clicking up there and looking for Views. Once you look for Views, click on the top view, which sends you to the top camera view. However, this view is in perspective mode, so to enable parallel projection, just press the tilde, or go to Camera, Parallel Projection. Once that is done and you want to save it this way, Shift 1 to create a new scene. If you don't have Shift 1 as your shortcut, go to View, Animation, Add Scene. Take note, however, wherever you save this view, the scene goes back to that camera. So if you want to save the whole view, such as this, I click on Shift Z to zoom extents, or you can just press Z for zoom, right click and zoom extents. Now I can update by right clicking the scene and clicking update, or my shortcut Shift 3. So when I want to go to that view, it goes to the updated scene. By right clicking Scene tab, going to Scenes, you can see properties on which to save. For example, I disable camera location and I update the scene. If I want to go back to the scene, no camera location have been saved, so nothing happens. However, this is useful if you want to keep on modeling while seeing the section cut. Press tilde for parallel projection disabled, and back to perspective view. If you look to my right side, I have the tags and its folder organization. So I have Site, Render, and Levels. Levels being the floor levels, Render being anything I want to see when I render, Site being everything else outside the building, such as this lot. After indicating the lot portions, I now go to my site. This is the backyard that I have modeled, and the earth fill in front. As much as possible, anything that has concrete fill is a solid group, so that I could easily get the entity info, volume 1.11 cubic meters, and I can apply this to my estimates later on. Example, choosing two solid groups, grouping them into one, and exploding them makes me compute for the volume of both easily without having to add in the calculator. However, this has to be in the final stage, so I recommend using this in another model. Right afterwards, I have the second basement. So you could see it's shaded with textures that can be found in the style that you used. If I go to the style tray, I select the default style and look for shaded with textures. The background becomes white and the lines become thin. Many people use this profile, which makes it laggy and heavier to use, so I disable them. Shortcut is F6, but once you're using shaded with textures, they are not seen. If you're using construction documentation though, they are enabled. Going back to 0, 0 indicates my lower basement, and the only fixtures I have are the bathroom and the kitchen. For the kitchen fixture, I have it as a 3D model, and for the bathroom it stays at 2D because I don't like to render these yet. Many people try to model this as one outer shell, but later on they have a hard time editing because everything is exploded. So I left it as groups so that I can easily just revise them anytime. Any accents and paints on the wall, I have them as groups with a very thin thickness, just so that the volume of this group won't be affected when computing for concrete fill. Let me try to put all the staircases in one group. Bring them out and see that this is 0.5, 1.5, 1.5 and 2.5. Now I can see it in the plan. Stairs going down, enable 2.5 to see also. Stairs going up. Once the 3D model has been finished, you could start modeling the interior layout. I chose not to model the interior here yet, so that I could easily send this in layout without lagging. Each level I turn into a component and name them their floor level. Say for example 3R, or the roof deck. Turn it into a component and save as. Once I save it somewhere else, it becomes a SketchUp model that I could model later on separately and add components. This way it makes it easier to focus on the floor. And once it's final and done, if you wish to put it back to the mother model, right click and reload and look for that component again. It reloads the same floor with all the interiors that you have modeled. With these floor plans ready for layout, I can set up the same model for rendering by putting P as perspective. Now in this scene, my renders are enabled. These are Enscape lighting. These are proxy for Enscape assets. It makes it easier to render, animate, all in the same model without having to export or choose new texture that won't update inside SketchUp if you want to see the model again later on. This is very useful for buying materials with the same texture and color. P2, P3, perspective 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So to change the scene name, right click, go to scenes, and change the name. Press enter or press outside into the model. Personally, I put the ceiling layer under the render layer. This is just because I don't want to see the ceiling unless I'm rendering. Ceiling has its own group, and notice how I don't put the lighting fixture inside that ceiling group yet. But it's still part of the ceiling tag. This is so that I could just press H to hide the ceiling and go to top view to arrange my lighting fixture layout. This makes it easier instead of looking from below like the reflected ceiling plan, having a hard time to model. Once that's done, I just unhide the ceiling and you could see the arranged fixture that I wanted to lay out. In most cases, traditionally, we model the ceiling like this, trying to guess where to place the fixture, and it hurts our neck. Once a SketchUp model has been imported into layout, it's called a viewport. When handling viewports, edit it in the SketchUp model tray. You could choose the scene here, put it to raster for a fast view mode, and enable preserve scale on resize. That means when I rescale this viewport, nothing happens to the SketchUp model. By default, the style we're using has no background, so if I press Ctrl and move it, you would see them on top of each other. Press N to delete. It's a shortcut we use. Now we can proceed to making dimensions. All we need is the dimension style and letter D. Disable this curve to no leader. What do I mean? If your curve is enabled, your dimensions might have this line, because the whole dimension text could not fit in there. So as early as now, disable the leader style. Auto scale is fine. Choose your meters and how many decimal points afterwards. I'll disable the label meter or the unit. Now we can start putting dimensions. A shortcut here is the direction the dimensions go to. For example, from right to left goes upward if you double click right afterwards. If you go from left to right and double click, it goes downwards with the same spacing. If you go down to up, it goes to the right, and up to down goes to the left. So this is useful for dimensioning from right to left and just double clicking each time you go. If you're having a hard time locking onto the joints, make sure your SketchUp model is neat so that intersections can easily be gotten. This is one reason why I don't like to explode the groups yet, so that it's easier also for the laying of hollow blocks and real construction. Once you're done with that, you can go to the SketchUp model and change raster to vector, which are line works, or hybrid, which are line works with the material. As you see right now, the lines are much cleaner. If you think your lines are too thick, click on the model again and change the line scale maybe to 0.2. This makes it easier to see the smaller lines. Once I'm done with my annotations, I can close layout and proceed to the preview of Enscape rendering. By hitting the render button on Enscape, we can see a preview currently now with white background. So now, instead of using a fly-through, I'm going to see them side by side, the Enscape and Sketchup model. If you turn on synchronize views, you can see them updating without the line works. And since my render tags have Enscape assets, I can now proceed to rendering. Ctrl R for my shortcut, and you could adjust the camera here. By decreasing the size of the Enscape window, the preview gets faster as well. I can make my own settings inside Enscape by pressing the letter K into the video editor. If I say I want a keyframe here, just press the letter K, and to the right another letter K. Preview 5 seconds shows a simple animation in real-time render. Inside the keyframe are advanced settings such as the time of the day, the field of view, the depth of field, and the timestamp. To preview between two keyframes, just press the letter P. To go through walls, just make sure you're flying, because if you press space, then it will be a person walking with a certain height. So if I try to go through this wall, I can't, because it will collide. The beauty of this is what they call ray tracing, which means the lighting adjusts to the exposure of the object you're looking at. So if you have a screen recorder, you could actually make your own walkthrough, like playing a game. Once you're done with that, you could use it to make some renders as well for the floor plans, overlaid with the SketchUp lineworks. You could also do that in layout. Once you're done with that, you can make some animation views as well. I'll use this for the title, and I'll use this for the facade. I'll try to use the rear for the credits, or the ending. Since Enscape can save the video path, you could render them twice to show the suggested and bare finish. Just in case, proactively. Once I'm done with that, I can proceed to my video editing by arranging all the animation and the labels. I could then choose a free copyright music, like copyright free music instrumental. Say I choose this, go to YouTube, add the letter PP, which makes me download it and convert it into MP3. Once I'm done with that, I could export it. I can now play the animation. And that's it. And that's it for SketchUp, landscape, and layout of a 3-story building with roof deck.